How are we doing? Man, I'm getting so good at these lectures. It's not even funny. Well, maybe you don't think I'm getting good at these lectures. Maybe I guess if they're like 5 minutes long, then I would be doing really good. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna perfect that as we move on. And this assumes that anybody or somebody is watching this. In fact, if you are watching this, if you don't mind shooting me an email, say, "Hey, I'm watching this." It would make me feel like I'm being seen. Anyway, um, yeah, so in case you are watching, the last concept that we really want to nail down in this chapter has to do with what we call the trial balance, okay? So again, just to review, we are observing all the business transactions. We're taking that information and now we're putting it in the journal using debits and credits. Once everything is in our journal, we then post information to our T accounts. Then, when we get to the end of the period, we want to add up all the debits and all the credits of each T account and figure out what the ending balances are. And then what we're going to do is we're going to send the ending balances to the trial balance. And the trial balance is just um, it's a report that shows all of the different accounts within our system and then what the ending balances are to those accounts and whether they're assets or, sorry, whether they're debits or credits. And then from the trial balance, we can create the financial statements. Okay. The trial balance is just a nice way to check to make sure that we're doing things properly. And the trial balance is going to have a debit column and a credit column. And then it's going to have a list of all of the different accounts that are in our system. And what we will do is we will create a list and we're going to start with all of the assets first. Then we will list the liabilities. In fact, I'll write it over here. And then we'll list the equities. And the equities will be capital, common stock, and then revenue, expenses, dividends, right? And so cash, I would have somewhere in my accounting system, I would have cash as a T account. I would add up all the debits, add up all the credits, figure out what the differences are. And let's just say I had 14,000 ending balance in cash in my T account, then I would just put 14,000 in my column over here. And then I could have the same thing going on for accounts receivable. I have a bunch of debit transactions, a bunch of credit transactions. I could add it up at the end and I could have 28,000, etc., etc. At the very end, we're going to total up all of our debits and all of our credits. And the goal is that debits equal credits within the trial balance. Debits don't have to equal credits in the T accounts, right? Because if all the debits in the cash account equaled all the credits, we would basically have a zero balance of cash, and we don't want that. We want the debits to exceed the credits so that we do have an ending balance in cash. Okay, me again. Rather than looking at my scribbling, I instead pulled up just a snapshot of what the trial balance could look like. So in the previous video, we did all of these transactions. We put all those transactions in our journal. And then if you were to take all that information that we put in the journal in that video, put all that information in T accounts, added up all the ending balances of the T accounts, we would have T accounts. For instance, we would have a T account for cash and it would have a $4,275 balance. And so you could see in the trial balance, cash is that first asset that we list, and it's got a $4,275 ending balance. And so we put that in the trial balance. And then, like I said, we are going to include all of the assets first. Then we would include the liabilities next. And then we're going to include all the equity. And with the equity accounts, we're going to include common stock first. And then in this instance, we're going with dividends next. Then we'll do the income statement items, revenue, expenses, etc. And then as you can see here, our ending balances of debits equal our ending balances of credits.